right on this main street was where a lot of the filming for the movie Killers of the Flower Moon took place. They made this place look like Fairfax, Oklahoma. And today we're gonna walk around a little bit of Pawhuska. We're gonna drive around Osage County and visit some of the places they talked about in the movie, were portrayed in the movie, and that were actual, locations in the book that was a bestseller as well. About a year ago, I was down in this area and did some videos, and I didn't really even know they were filming a movie. And the movie had been being filmed for, a long period of time because of COVID. There were starts and stops, and now the movie's out and it's a big hit. And I saw the movie recently and made me want to come down and kind of see the places that were, some of the filming location, but also go to the real places and kind of revisit a few of the places I'd been before. A lot of history in Osage County. I won't kind of retell the whole story of the Killers of the Flower Moon, but basically, there was Native Americans that were on this land, and they owned all the rights to the oil that was under it, and people wanted that money, and there were lots and lots of murders that happened. And so, not the greatest history in the world, but something that is now a major motion picture, and maybe this will get you more interested in that, either that movie, their history, or to come visit these areas. You can see why they chose Pawhuska for the filming of the movie. There are so many old buildings, and it feels like you're definitely stepping back in time. These towns south of Pawhuska weren't main parts of the movie, but they were referenced here and there geographically. Some of the characters may have lived there, may have visited some of these towns, but they're real close to where the filming was, and some of the actors even came from some of these towns that were in the movie. And there's some really great things to see. Hominy here has a bunch of great old buildings, and they have a little depot here that they are kind of working on, making little buildings that are replicas of bigger buildings. But exploring around the town is really great. They have a ton of murals and nods to the history of Osage County.
Hominy had a professional football team in the 1920s to 1932, and actually played and defeated the New York Giants. It was a very historical event because it was an all-Indian team, and the New York Giants had just won the NFL title in 1927. So the Hominy team had won 28 games in a row. There was a movie that documented their success called Playground of the Native Son, of which you're seeing a clip here. Very interesting historical event there in Hominy. As you head west down 20, about 12 miles or so, turn left on a gravel road, you're going to end up at the White Hair Memorial. And this was the home of Lily Burkhart. She was married to Byron Burkhart, the brother of Ernest, who was one of the main villains in the movie and the book. Very interesting. And just down the street from there is an old school district. Couldn't find much information about this, but right there on that same road as the White Hair Memorial. Even though the town of Ralston isn't in Osage County, it's right on the border. It's in Pawnee County, and there's some great old buildings. It is referred to in the book. Obviously, it's right here next to some of the towns that are featured prominently in the story. As we cross back over the river, those signs on the right say leaving the Pawnee Reservation and entering the Osage Reservation. And that just kind of shows you how close we are, with the map here to Gray Horse and Fairfax. And we're going to head over to Gray Horse next. I previously did a couple videos about Gray Horse, and Gray Horse is one of the main places in the book and the movie. And this is where the Osage come, and they still have their yearly celebrations right here in this roundhouse. There were some older roundhouses back in the day, but this is the more modern one they've built in recent years. It's a really, really beautiful structure. And, all around the outside, they have family names there, and those are places that, people from the public aren't allowed to sit. Burkhart, that's one of the main names, if you remember from the Killers of the Flower Moon, and all these different family names there. And then this is an old school. I did a whole video about that school as well. So if you want to watch any of those, they'll be linked in the description. Unfortunately, the historic cemetery was not open to the public, but that's where many of the natives were buried. This is a very historic cemetery if you're ever able to get to Gray Horse. And then just a few miles, not even, less than 5 miles from Gray Horse is Fairfax, where the movie was really set. And for instance, those are the doctors. If you saw the movie, you'll know the doctors were significant, I guess you'd call them bad guys in the movie. That's the real doctor's offices. And they filmed the movie here for those scenes. And the town of Pawhuska was used to look like Fairfax. And here is a display that talks about the Osage murders and the Osage people, and it's just kind of an open little, I guess you call it a museum display. It talks about the history of the people that live there. It's really informative, and they also have the history obviously of the town of Fairfax. I did a whole Small Town USA video previously about Fairfax, and so if you're interested in learning more about the city of Fairfax, you should go back and watch that.
One of the more dramatic deaths was of Molly's sister, Anna. And I'm in the location where it could have been close to here. Set about 3 miles north of Fairfax on the Salt Creek, and we're pretty much 3 miles north of Fairfax on the Salt Creek. And there was a town called Remington, or a small settlement called Remington, that was in this general location in this area. So could have easily been here where Anna was killed, and that really got people upset and got things rolling for investigations and things like that. So don't know, exactly the location, but somewhere right around here.
north of Remington is the small town of Burbank. In the movie, one of the detectives that come over to try to solve the case is from Burbank. And obviously it's just not too far from Fairfax, so a lot of, areas common to Osage County here where people were all back and forth through these different towns. And there's a lot of great old buildings here in Burbank, from looking at the school there to an old jail. So neat little town to check out as you're exploring around Osage County. Place that is still technically a town is Shidler, even though back in the day when oil was discovered here, Shidler had around 5,000 people, and it boomed so quickly and then came down. By the first official census after it was incorporated, it was only a little over 1,000 people, and now is just a few hundred today. But another town that has some really quirky things, as you can see there, and some cool old buildings and some interesting history right here where a lot of the movie was set. And Whizbang, I did a video about previously, and it's got the funny name. It was named, after an old kind of comic book, and this was a kind of the party central part of Osage County, and up to 10,000 people lived here, and now it's totally a ghost town, and you can see just a couple old remnants left, and certainly the local ranch has a nice sense of humor.
I'm back in Wichita. I'm next to a very busy road, and you're probably wondering, why am I in Wichita at the end of this video? And it's because William Hale, who was kind of the ringleader of all the death from the Killers of the Flower Moon story, he's buried here. This is the Old Mission Mausoleum here in Wichita. I have no idea why William Hale is buried here. There's actually several Hales in the directory when you look in there, and but he died in Arizona after getting out of prison. He was from Texas. He lived in Oklahoma, obviously, but he wasn't allowed to go back to Oklahoma. And so I wonder if anybody out there knows why he was buried here. Maybe he had some family here, but me and a friend looked high and low trying to figure out any connection to Wichita, and we couldn't find any. So maybe somebody out there knows, why is William Hale buried right here in Wichita. This is a very large cemetery here in Wichita, and he's not buried out there. He's actually in the mausoleum. So all the lights generally work around here, except for in this room. The lights don't work. I tried the switch. But Hale is right there. For an even stranger into this story, this mausoleum here is literally across the street from Cessna Stadium, and that's where I work. And so all these years, William Hale has been right here. I can literally see my office from here. I guess that's a good ending to the story. This is Cessna Stadium. If you want to see something even crazier, this is just, I was just walking by here, and it has all these names of people that helped build the stadium, right? And there's Cessna Stadium, and look at the architect, William Hale. That's crazy. It turns out that's not the same William Hale, but what a coincidence. The stadium was built across from where actually William Hale from Oklahoma, Killers of the Flower Moon, is interned in the mausoleum. Hey, they knew I was coming. Gotta talk to him about spelling my name right though. No? No? Okay. Aw. I think you're hurt. I've never walked around in a mausoleum before. It's kind of creepy. Anybody ever seen the movie Phantasm?